Good afternoon and welcome to Walk by Faith. I'm Abigail Nutt, and please like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and share. So, I'm going to carry on in my hunt through the prophets in looking through the prophets to see what um, was going on at the time and the life and times and what was um, why Israel needed prophets. We've already talked about that. Um, so God calls Isaiah, and Isaiah starts to prophesy. And he doesn't only prophesy doom and gloom, but he also, in everything he says, he points to Jesus and he gives hope. But I have to say, when I read the next chapter, chapter 3 is hard. It is judgment. I don't think I saw anything hopeful or anything good. But luckily, that is not the whole of Isaiah. We've already read that the Israelites will turn back to God. And when they turn back to God, God will bless them and they will throw their idols away. And so that will happen. But God is trying to make them aware of their sins. So he is listing all the things that is going to befall them when his judgment comes, when they get invaded and exiled, um, when they get taken to Babylon. So first the Assyrians tried to attack them, but God told the king, that was in a previous video, that he would stop them, and God stopped the Assyrian invasion. But the next invasion came from Babylon. So God actually gave them some time, and then the next invasion came from Babylon, and they were exiled. So I'm going to read Isaiah 3, and it says, "For see, the Lord Adonai Tsevaot will remove from Jerusalem and Judah every kind of support, all reserves of food and water, heroes and warriors, judges and prophets, diviners and leaders." What did they have diviners for anyway? Captains of 50, men of rank and advisers, skillful magicians and expert enchanters. I will put children in authority. Capriciousness will govern them. People will oppress each other, everyone his friend, everyone his neighbor. The young will be insolent towards their elders, the insignificant arrogant towards the respected. And that happens today too, the insignificant arrogant towards the respected. A man will take hold of his brother in his father's house and say, "You have a coat, so rule us. Take charge of this ruin." It's panic there. But on that day he will protest, I don't have a remedy. I lack food and clothing for my own house. Don't put me in charge of people. For Jerusalem is ruined and Judah has fallen because their words and deeds defy Adonai in open provocation of his glory. Their very look witnesses against them. They parade their sin like Sodom. They don't even try to hide it. All the worse for them. And they bring evil on themselves, so that it will go well with the righteous. Say that it will go well with the righteous, and they will enjoy the fruit of their actions. So I think that verse there, that's verse 10, is the only positive thing, the only hope in the whole chapter that I've been able to see. So it's they slipping that thing in there. Say it will go well with the righteous, and they will enjoy the fruit of their actions. He's still telling them that what will happen when they are righteous, when they live righteously. But woe to the wicked, it will go badly with him, for what he has done will be done to him. My people, children, oppress them. and women are ruling over them, and it was looked down upon. It was not done that women ruled. My people, your guides, lead you astray and obliterate the paths you should follow. Adonai rises to accuse. He stands to judge the peoples. Adonai presents the indictment against the leaders and officers of his people. It is you who devour the vineyard. In your houses is plunder taken from the poor. What do you mean by crushing my people and grinding down the faces of the poor? So he's sticking up for his people and for the poor. And Adonai cares a lot about the poor. So it says Adonai Elohim Sebaot. Moreover, Adonai says, because Zion's women are so proud, walking with their heads in the air and throwing seductive glances, moving with mincing steps and jingling their anklets, Adonai will strike the crown of their heads of Zion's women with swords, and Adonai will expose their private parts. Wow, talk about humiliation. And look, this is actually what happened. As I said in the previous video, they were led naked. They were led away from exile, from Jerusalem, from Israel, naked. Their private parts were exposed. Now, think of a movie of that scene in the Bible. They will never have everything exposed because children watch that too. But in real life, what happened was they were naked. They had nothing on. And then on that day, Adonai will take away their finery, their anklets, medallions, and crescents, their pendants, bracelets, and veils, their headbands, armlets, sashes, perfume bottles, amulets, rings, and nose jewels, their fine dresses, wraps, shawls, handbags, gauze scarves, linen underclothes, turbans, and capes. Then there will be, instead of perfume, a stench, instead of a belt, a rope, instead of a well-set hair, a shaved scalp, instead of a rich robe, a sackcloth shirt, and a slave brand instead of beauty. Your men will fall by the sword, and your warriors in battle. Her gates will lament and mourn. Ravaged, she will sit on the ground. Okay, so I saw something else that I wanted to read, and I've completely forgotten. Was it here? Yes, it was here. It was here. Yes. Okay, so there are actually two things that I wanted to read, and I forgot to put it in my notes, but it's fine. Okay, so that sounds pretty bad. Okay, but there's always hope. We know what happened. Jesus happened, and we didn't have to take on the punishment anymore because Jesus took on all the punishment. Okay, so in this chapter, God identifies two specific groups to suffer God's judgment: the leaders and officers of his people, and Zion's woman. Now you need to understand the phrase Zion's woman. The phrase Zion's woman is the literal phrase of daughters of Zion, which refers to the neighborhoods surrounding Jerusalem. So this interpretation is possible here as well, and in my opinion, probable. So if you talk about a viewpoint of these verses, the viewpoint was some men have a viewpoint. Not all men, thank goodness, right? There are some good ones out there, but talk about the viewpoint. It was Eve's fault that sin entered the world. Okay. I'm not saying Eve wasn't to blame, but Adam also took the fruit. So in some men's minds, she was the temptress. It was all on her. And so some men, when they cheat, or even as an excuse for pedophilia, they will blame it on the women and girls for being tempting and causing the men to do evil. And at the end of the day, you have a choice over what you do. You cannot blame other people, although other people were involved, and maybe they were to blame in a small way or in a big way, but you also made the choice to do that. So some men do make this excuse for doing evil. And so someone of that mindset who reads this passage without knowing the possible interpretation, and in my opinion, probable, will use it to get out of responsibility for sin. They don't blame Adam at all for taking the fruit from Eve, but Eve was also tempted. The tempter was not Eve, it was Satan. He is the one who went to Eve, not Eve didn't go to him. He was the one that went to Eve and said, "Do you want to be like God? Eat this fruit." Okay. And he totally manipulated Eve. And so Eve ate it and thought, "Oh, it's good," and then gave it to Adam. And Adam had a choice. He could have said, God said, "No, I'm not doing this." But he didn't. He took the fruit and he ate. So also someone might interpret this to mean that women must be dressed plainly, like the part about God stripping all their finery, their anklets, their medallions and crescents, their pendants, bracelets, veils, etc., etc. Someone might also interpret this to mean that women must be dressed plainly and not have any pretty things. That's not what this is saying. God is not saying that. He is stripping them of things that they found pleasure in order to humble them. They were spoilt children. These cities around Jerusalem, they were spoilt. They had everything they needed and more and more and more. And then their material goods, things that they had, actually distracted them from God. So that's why God is saying, "I'm stripping this all away from you." Okay, and in any case, this is not about women at all. It's about God stripping the cities, the neighborhoods of their finery so that he can humble them and show his glory through what is going to happen. So I believe in modesty, but these verses are not saying that pretty things are bad. Okay, so people like this actually twist these verses to their own ends, and men would use this to force women to live to these standards while they can wear whatever they want. But they are actually simply wanting to control them. And love is not about controlling someone else. Even Jesus left us a choice whether to follow him or not. Jesus could have controlled it. He could have said, "You have to follow me. You have no choice." And God could have made us like, even God. He could have made us like robots that we had to choose to follow him, and that's that. But no, they gave us a choice because God loved us enough to desire for us to walk this life, to have the issues and the problems that come, and to be strengthened and refined by that fire, so that we see the beauty in having that relationship with the Lord, in seeking out the Lord, in worshiping him with him and praying with him, and in going through the Bible. And so when we assert this control of other people, that's not love, that is control. Okay, so ancient Israelite clothing and jewelry. There's a thing here about ancient Israelite clothing, and Joy, I just want to see if you can see. If you can see, that is a comb. Not a comb, it's like a hook for your clothing. It could be stone or something, but it's basically a hook that that kind of caught your clothing. Because the Israelites, they used to drape clothing over themselves and hook it with a stone little catch or something. And that's basically, you probably didn't see it properly, but that's basically a picture of it. So, since the climatic conditions of Israel have made it difficult for ancient textile fragments to survive, knowledge of ancient dress comes primarily from textual and iconographic sources. And I'm reading something out of the Archaeological Bible right now, i.e., the ancient documents and pictures. Egyptian funerary wall paintings at Beni Hassan, dating to patriarchal times, picture a caravan of Semitic peoples dressed in brightly colored, woven garments. These appear to have been made of a single cloth wrapped around the body and fastened over one shoulder, leaving the other bare. Toggle pins of bone. That's what I actually just showed you. A toggle pin of bone. Ivory or bronze, which held the cloth in place like modern safety pins, have been located at various sites. Tunics with or without sleeves are mentioned in scripture as the principal garments of both men and women. That's in Genesis 37 verse 3, 2 Samuel 13 verse 18. These were typically ankle length and drawn up when working. 2 Kings 4 verse 29. The rare textile remains are mostly of linen, with some of wool, but very few are comprised of both linen and wool. The black obelisk, 9th century BC, which visually records the Assyrian king Shalmaneser III receiving tribute from Israel, pictures of King Jehu in such a short-sleeved ankle-length robe with fringes along the bottom. The sash wrapped around his waist was of special significance for the high-ranking officials. I think we talked about that when we did my series on Exodus, and the sash wrapped around the waist was actually to gird you for warfare, to gird you for spiritual warfare, to ready you. And that was kind of the symbolic representation of that. So, and the kings in Israel, they were a priest. They had priesthood responsibilities. Okay, and that's actually in Isaiah 22 verse 21. Israelite tribute bearers are shown garbed in tasseled mantles, a type of garment pictured regularly in Assyrian reliefs depicting Semitic peoples. Their shoes were upturned at the toes and appear to have covered the entire foot, although the Bible mentions leather sandals as a more common footwear. So Genesis 14 verse 23 and Deuteronomy 25 verse 9, that's where you can find that. As inner garments, men wore fine linen waistcloth with a leather belt from which valuables could be hung, such as a knife or a signet ring. That's in 2 Kings 1 verse 8 and Jeremiah 13 verse 1. The Lachish reliefs, 701 BC, picture Israelite captives in such lion cloths with a wide fabric belt around their waist, whose fringed vertical edge was passed over the belt to hang between their knees. Undergarments mentioned only in association with the priesthood were designed to cover the body from the loins to the thighs when the priests were engaged in sanctuary ministry. And that's Exodus 28 verse 42 to 43 and Ezekiel 44 verse 18. Cloaks with hoods which could be pulled over the head or used to carry loads, were the typical outer garments of the men and women. In Ruth 3, verse 15, and 1 Kings 19, verse 13, you can find reference to that. Linen headdresses twisted as turbans were common for men, wealthy women, bridegrooms, and priests in Exodus 28, verse 40, and Isaiah 3, verse 20, and 61, verse 10. At least for the wealthy woman's clothing was typically made of finer materials, perhaps richer colors than that of the men. So what this makes me think of is those biblical movies. They always, all of them are wearing such plain clothing, but they dressed better than that. Especially the wealthier people, they had more access to dyes, to dye their clothes and all of that. So they perhaps richer colors than that of the men. 2 Samuel 1 verse 24 and Proverbs 31 verse 22. Featured with the attire of the upper class were gauze garments, long veils, headbands, and gold embroidery. Isaiah 3 verse 18 to 23 and 47 to verse 2. Women wore their hair long with a head covering that reached down their back. An ivory from Megiddo pictures a woman with a long fringed dress and shoulder-length head veil. In terms of jewelry items, hammered gold or silver was fashioned into arm bracelets, necklaces, earrings, nose rings, and finger rings. That's Genesis 24 verse 22 and 30. And Esther 3 verse 10, Isaiah 3 verse 18 to 21, and Ezekiel 16 verse 11 to 12. The most common earring design of ancient Israel was the lunate, an ovoid loop resembling a crescent moon. Although, along with other ornaments, 2 sets of 5 solid gold bangles each, dating to the Middle Bronze Age, have been recovered from Tel al-Ejal. That's TELEL-AJJUL, comparable to the 10 shekel weight of Rebecca's bridal bracelets. That's Genesis 24 verse 22. Clothing and jewelry distinguished between ethnic groups, that's in Numbers 15 verse 38 to 40, and signaled social status within the community itself. Mourners, 2 Samuel verse 14 verse 2, lepers, Leviticus 13 verse 45, and prisoners, 2 Kings 25 verse 29, were all sometimes identified by their dress. The garb of royalty and the affluent was most likely distinguished by profuse ornamentation. Psalm 49 verse 8 to 9, Ezekiel 26 verse 16. Since jewelry served to confer dignity and authority in addition to its use as a personal adornment, the articles mentioned in the catalogue of Isaiah 3 verse 18 to 23 may reflect the finery of wealth. For a discussion of clothing, yes. Okay, that's fun. So the people in this time, they had a lot of wealth, and the cities were brimming with wealth and material possessions, and God was stripping them all away because wealth really does make you proud, and the love of money is the root of all evil. Okay, so then I don't think I'll read that now. I don't think I'm going to read that now. I'll read that at a later stage. Okay, so here we've got a very hard chapter, and we're going to go slowly through it, like a few verses by a few verses, as I usually do. So in this chapter, God is very plain about what will happen when judgment comes. In this chapter, he talks about how he will strip the land of all its finery. All the materialistic possessions they had would be stripped away. When all is stripped away, what are you left with? When all the noise is silenced and it's just you looking at yourself in the mirror, are you happy with yourself? Are you happy with what you see? Or will you realize that you used all that stuff to hide from your own sin? So, a bit of a reflection. Ask God to reveal anything in your life that you've been hiding from. Ask forgiveness and ask him to teach you how to deal with it. Allow him to deal with the hurt and the shame that you have been feeling. Ask the Lord to show you the truth and write down what he says. And he will do it. So going through the prophets is quite a hard thing to do. It's meant to make you look at yourself and be honest about your own sin. And this is what prophecy does. And it can be challenging. It can take you through some feelings of hurt, of rejection, of and forgiveness if you need to forgive anyone, forgiving that person. It's really God shining a light on you and wanting to refine you and wanting to give you that opportunity to be honest with him and with yourself about or what you need to change about yourself, or not even what you need to change, because it's in his strength, in the strength of the Lord. He does it, not us. We just need to seek him in prayer and pray to him and worship him and ask him what he sees and ask him to help you deal with the pain. And he will help you deal with the pain. Because through this stuff that we're wrestling with, we come closer to his heart. Our relationship with him improves, and we end up being able to hear him more clearly and be more certain of where he's leading us. And some of you are watching this and thinking, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where God wants me. I need direction. I'm not getting direction. Well, ask God for direction. Spend time with him. That's the thing. We want God to instantly answer us and be like, and give us direction. But he's like, my child, press in a little more. Press in deeper to my presence. Spend time in my presence. Spend time worshiping me. Spend time loving me. Spend time letting me love you. Spend time letting me comfort you. Spend time letting me heal you. Spend time in my presence. And you will learn that you cannot be dishonest in my presence. I know everything that you've gone through. I know all the hurt and the pain that you've gone through. I know why you got angry last week. And I know why you lost it in that situation. I see the hurt. I see the pain. I see the rejection. I see the anxiety. I see it. But you need to press into me. Press in deeper to my presence. Seek me and I will be found. Seek me out. Turn your heart towards me. Seek a relationship with me. Seek a deeper relationship with me. This is what this is about. This is what the prophets are about. God is begging them to seek a deeper relationship with him. But he is God, so he also knows that they're going to reject him. They need a bit of a hiding. They've been naughty children. They need discipline. He's going to give it to them, but he's giving them every opportunity. He's telling them exactly what's going to happen. And even though they are so stiff-necked and they don't listen to God, he gives them hope. He points them to Jesus. and he talks to them. He talks to them about what will happen when, not if, but when they turn back to him. He always gives us a chance. And the problem with the Israelites was that they were so stuck in their own bubble and that everything's good. I've got everything I need. I've got all the connections. I've got lots of jewelry and I've got all this finery and I can go and spend money at the markets and not worry about running out of money. I've got it all. I don't need God. I mean, that's what people say. That's what it was. I don't need God. But God is saying, turn to me. And never mind just that. I mean, also committing idolatry and loving and worshipping other gods. And I said before, like they're worshipping gods of stone, right? They did. There's nothing in them. They're gods of stone, but the one who led them through the sea, the one who blew the waves back and they went on through the sea on dry land, the one who made water come out of a rock, the one that provided for them in the desert, that made manna rain down on quail, the one that helps them plunder the Egyptians. They came out rich, those people. They had gold and jewelry, and it's not because they stole. Someone anti-Semitic would watch this and be like, yeah, it's because they stole. It's not because they stole. It says in the Bible that they had favor with their masters. And so they were given all this gold and the silver. And because God knew that they would need this gold and silver in the desert so that they could make the tabernacle, so that they could make the bronze instruments that they needed and the big basin, what was it called, the laver or something, I don't know. And there was a mirror they had to look in also. There's a lot of things that they had to make, and they had gold and they had silver to do that, to make that. And so and they had skilled people who were able to weave cloth. They had everything they needed. And so the Lord knew that they would need the silver and the gold for his dwelling place in the desert. And so he arranged for them to have favor with their masters, and they plundered Egypt. This is the God that they stopped worshipping. To do what? Worship a rock, like, how does that make sense? When you've seen all these amazing miracles in the desert, even before the desert with the plagues, and Passover with the angel of death passing over their houses and all the firstborn of everyone dying except for theirs. That was God. That was God. And they turned their backs on God. Does that make sense? Yet we do it. As soon as something goes our way, we turn our backs on God and we've got like, I've got everything I need. I did it once. I I grew up not believing that I had talents because that's how I was treated. I was never encouraged or anything. And then suddenly someone asked me to sing at school, and everyone was just so amazed at how well I sang. I'm not blowing my own trumpet, I'm just telling facts. And I ended up doing singing lessons for, I took singing lessons for about 11 years. And why was I telling you this? Things that oh, yes. So I did singing lessons for 11 years, and through those 11 years, I was practically the star of practically all the concerts they put on. And I was a teenager. It was actually a lot of pressure. I mean, I would sing like 8 songs at a time, and that's a lot of pressure with school and everything. And I didn't always like it, But I did enjoy singing, I must say. And I didn't do it to get attention. I did it because I loved it. And there were times when I didn't love it because of all the stuff that goes on behind scenes in the theater world and in show worlds. Anyway, what happened was I always wanted to be in like a musical show, and I ended up getting the lead in a pantomime, The Sleeping Beauty. And in a pantomimes, women, girls, they play the male lead. I got the male lead, Prince Valiant. So, and that was the first thing I ever auditioned for. And I had in my mind, really, I think I forgot about the Lord. I had everything I needed, and I would kind of pray every day before I went on stage that the Lord would be with me and help me remember my lines and help me get my cues properly and all that. But other than that, I totally forgot about the Lord. I stopped spending time with him, and 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 I saw my mistake. Like after the show was over, I saw my mistake immediately. And my mistake, the mistake of forgetting the Lord and stop spending time with him just because I've got what I want, right? That affected me immediately. I immediately realized what I'd done. I did repent. But the thing is, my sin of letting that stage become an idol was actually, I mean, we all have idols in our lives, things that take us away from spending time with the Lord. I do it all the time because I'm on YouTube and I study the Bible all the time and I pray all the time, and I've changed since those days. If I've got stuff I want, I still pray and I still press in. But at that time, I had stopped doing that, and immediately there were consequences for my actions. I couldn't hear the Lord. I used to be able to hear the Lord before that so easily. I used to be walking on the street and he would be talking to me. I had a very good relationship with the Lord. And after that, I stopped being able to hear him. And it was the worst feeling in the world because it was like my best friend had rejected me. And he didn't actually reject me. I rejected him. So I was aware of what was happening. So for years, I went through this desert place. I call it my desert time, where I was seeking after the Lord. I was seeking and seeking and seeking and saying, Lord, I can't hear you, but I know you're there, and I know I did wrong, and I know I sinned, and I'm so sorry. Could you please let me hear your voice again? Could I please feel your presence again, Lord? Could I feel your presence? Please let me feel your presence. And it took years of pleading and asking the Lord, please, can I feel your presence again? During that time, I was asked, what is the Lord doing with you? And for the first time in my life, I was so embarrassed, but I couldn't tell. I couldn't say what he was doing with me because he wasn't talking to me or because I couldn't hear him. I put that block up, not him. I'm the one that turned my back on him. And I realized it straight away, but that didn't mean that I was saved from going through this desert place. And then when I find slowly, like after years, it must have been like 3 or 4 years that I could not hear his voice. It was horrible. And then slowly after that, I started hearing him again. Once in a while, I would start hearing him. Once in a while, I'd feel this whisper. And the whisper got louder, and he started talking to me again, but it took a long time for me to actually, for that relationship to actually be restored. And once I had it back, I didn't want to let go of it because because that time in the desert made it so much more precious to me. Now, I didn't want to lose it again. I still don't want to, and I won't, because I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to allow things like that to get in my way, to get in the way of worship and worshiping the Lord and pressing into Him. And sometimes I can still be a bit lax, but most days, I mean, just about every day I spend time with Him. I press into Him a little bit. I'm like, Lord, what do you want me to do this day? How do you want me to plan my life? And recently, I've really been trying to get like a new routine that kind of helps me to be more productive. And we've been here since November the 2nd last year. And so it's almost a year now that we've been here. But only now I'm starting to settle into a routine. Because I mean, this was a complete life change for us. Coming so far from Cape Town to Port Alfred, this was a complete lifestyle change. And it's completely different here. In here, it's like very relaxed, a much slower pace, which I love. But also, if you need something, it's like hurry up and wait, because the fact is there's a lot to be done around here. There's lots of people that need help, and often they are working somewhere else or doing stuff somewhere else, and you have to, maybe you need it now, but you have to actually grow patience. You grow patience here, and you've got to hurry up and wait, and you've got to be like, Lord, you know what I need, so I'm just gonna be patient. I'm gonna just pray that they get here soon. And it's like it actually really grows patience in you. And so I've had to grow patience. Like often when I've needed something important, like ASAP, I've had to wait, and even now. And the thing is just to take that time, step back, and be like, Lord, I know that you know what's going on, and you know what I need, and I trust you. And it's been quite a journey for me. Um, but I will never, ever take the Lord for granted again, because I don't ever want to lose that communication with Him. Well, since then, I've been part of healing rooms at my other church, and I mean, God has really done a lot in me, and He's placed a lot in me. So basically, there's always hope, even if you may be watching this and going through a desert time where you don't know what the Lord is saying, and you just feel like there's no communication with the Lord. This is your desert time. Just pursue the Lord, press in every day, and He will honor you. He will end your desert time in His time, not yours. Be patient, but keep on seeking, keep on pressing in, and He will reveal His plan to you, and He will start speaking to you again. But you need to press in and actually be like, Lord, please speak to me. Lord, let me hear what you're saying. Because it's not even that He's not speaking to you, it's that you can't hear because your sin has actually clouded your ears. Okay. I think that can happen with deception also. When the devil deceives you, that noise gets so loud that you forget to focus on God. And you really got to develop like an antenna that goes up, like God frequency, God frequency, God frequency. Where are you, Lord? And forget about the noise. There's noise around you, but you got to just be like, Lord, where are you in this? Oh, I found you. Thank you, Lord. Yes. Amen, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. It's hard. It's hard to be a Christian, but press in and don't give up. Okay, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.